And I just want to make some comments with respect to the issue that arose yesterday. Bill Shorten said yesterday that the fact of Minister Dutton having a conversation over a lunch with Huang Xiangmo, who at the time was a notable and prominent figure in the Chinese community in Australia, was, and this is a completely overstated and hyperbolic criticism, but these are the words of Bill Shorten, that was a revelation of a national security issue. So it's now come to the attention of the government that there are a number of photographs that depict the same person that offered that criticism, Bill Shorten, as the VIP guest of honour at Huang Xiangmo's daughter's wedding. There's a number of those photographs that depict that in the plainest of terms. If you consider this now, and that criticism, hyperbolic, overstated criticism of Bill Shorten yesterday, at the same time that Bill Shorten engages in this completely overcooked criticism of the Home Affairs Minister, having a meeting at lunch with Huang Xiangmo, Bill Shorten knows that he was a VIP guest of honour at the wedding of the daughter of the very same person. That's what must have been in Bill Shorten's mind yesterday when he offers up that completely overcooked criticism of Minister Dutton. And this now is an essential issue about Bill Shorten's credibility. Here is a man who offers up the most remarkable, overcooked criticism of a minister for having lunch with a person who was a prominent Chinese figure in the Australian community at the time of that lunch. And while he offers up that criticism, Bill Shorten knows in his own mind that he himself was the VIP guest of honour at the same person's daughter's wedding. It cannot be the case that the credibility part of your brain is firing particularly well if you offer criticism of a fairly standard meeting at the same time that you in your own mind know that you have been to an intimate function which demonstrates a high level of closeness to the same person in the nature of a personal invitation as a guest of honour to that person's daughter's wedding. Now, we think that this is actually a remarkable turn of events. The photographs demonstrate quite clearly that Bill Shorten has a depth of relationship with Huang Xiangmo that he has been absolutely silent about whilst he is delivering criticism of a lunch where business is discussed with a prominent figure of the Chinese community. I'm very happy to take questions about any of the matters that we've raised today.
On that, while you're on that, sorry, I haven't seen the photo. I don't know if you can hold it up any
I'm
further,
happy to distribute it out.
Doesn't it just show that both major parties have their hands dirty in this matter?
Well, there is a world of difference between the closeness and intimacy of a relationship, which is evidenced by one lunch, to the intimacy and closeness of a relationship that is evidenced by being invited to that person's daughter's wedding. I mean, they are qualitatively different events. And the point is that Bill Shorten is incredibly happy in the context of a soon-to-be called election to get out there with this absolutely over-the-top criticism of a lunch with Huang Xiangmo at the same time that he knows in his own mind that he went to Huang Xiangmo's daughter's wedding as a guest of honour. I mean, that must surely speak to the credibility of Bill Shorten, that he will say and do anything, stoop to any level of hyperbolic, outrageous criticism if he thinks it's going to get him a day's news in a cycle that would advantage him, even if the credibility gulf in making that criticism is as wide as the Grand Canyon.
Another key difference, though, is it could be argued that a wedding is a personal matter, that lunch, it could be argued, was a business matter arranged by a lobbyist. Could Santo Santoro have broken any federal laws by allegedly selling time with a minister?
There's nothing unroutine between ministers meeting with prominent individuals in the community at the request of and with a lobbyist. Every minister and shadow minister has done that. Right? There's nothing unusual about that. However, Bill Shorten chose to criticise that as somehow remarkable or unusual, or in his words, right, a revelation of a national security issue. And he makes that criticism of what is a fairly routine meeting at the same time that he knows Bill Shorten, A, received $55,000 into the Labor Party and shortly afterwards had himself lunch with Huang Xiangmo, and B, as these photographs now demonstrate, he, Bill Shorten, is the guest of honour at Huang Xiangmo's daughter's wedding. Now, wouldn't you think that the credibility part of your brain would be whispering to you, perhaps this criticism is a little bit overcooked, given that Bill Shorten himself had a relationship with Huang Xiangmo which goes well beyond one business meeting arranged by a lobbyist. It goes to attending the bloke's daughter's wedding.
Malcolm Turnbull has also called it a matter of national security.
Well, again, there are photographs that have emerged of the former Prime Minister out and about with Huang Xiangmo, but that and the meeting between Peter Dutton is qualitatively different from attending the bloke's wedding. And to know that you were attending the bloke's daughter's wedding at the same time that you're criticising a business lunch seems, to me at least, extraordinary.
Former Trade Minister Andrew Robb was also at that wedding.
Yeah, but Andrew Robb hasn't gotten out and criticised in the most hyperbolic and overcooked way a business lunch that Peter Dutton had with Huang Xiangmo.
So was there anything wrong with being at that wedding?
Well, in the context of the fact, I'll tell you what was wrong with being at that wedding, is not telling people when you're criticising people for having a lunch with Huang Xiangmo that you're at his daughter's wedding. It's an issue of credibility and disclosure, surely.
Has Santo Santoro potentially broken any federal laws?
Well, no, not that I'm aware of. I mean, are you suggesting that he has? He's a lobbyist who engaged a client and arranged a meeting. That happens with enormous regularity in federal politics and state politics.
Does it pass the pub test?
Well, it's part of the political arrangements that exist at all levels of government. It's a hardly unsurprising thing that lobbyists are paid by their clients to lobby for their clients.
Does that happen with that regularity that they're paid sums of money like that to organise such lunches?
Well, you only need to look on the lobbyist register to see that it does happen with enormous regularity.
Should it happen with enormous regularity?
Well, the reality is that people in a free society like Australia have the free ability to pay people to lobby on their behalf. You're not seriously suggesting that we breach the freedom of political communication provisions in the Australian Commonwealth Constitution to ban lobbying, are you? I mean, that's absurd.
Should it be more transparent?
Well, how much more transparent can it be than a register and indeed a foreign influence transparency register that this government brought in and dragged Labor kicking and streaming to bring in? These are very transparent issues. The issue here is why you would criticise a standard meeting in the context of Australian politics, whilst at the same time knowing that you had engaged in intimate relationships demonstrated by attendance at a family wedding with the same person that you're criticising as an attendee at a lunch.
Aren't you trying to divert from the real issue being whether Mr Dutton was influenced?
Aren't you completely disinterested in the credibility of the person who stands to be the alternative Prime Minister? Isn't it an issue that there are photographs circulating round of Bill Shorten at the wedding of the daughter of the person that he says it was unfair that Peter Dutton had lunch with? Does that not sound as strange to anyone in this room?
Should payments for lobbying be transparent to the level where Peter Dutton should have been aware of money changing hands before that lunch?
Well, lobbyists have been registered under a system which is well known, which is well scrutinised. That system has been greatly enhanced by this government in the establishment of a foreign influence transparency register, which doesn't just go to lobbying, but goes to all sorts of activity that is directed at influencing government decision making. But ultimately here, as the point was made repetitiously yesterday, Huang Xiangmo had his status under immigration law cancelled and cannot return to Australia. And that is the outcome of a process, in fact, that I was intimately involved in and which was a fair, standard and I might say completely rigorous process that evidences the way in which the Morrison government is completely immune from influence.
So you don't have an issue with Bill Shorten or Andrew Robb being at that wedding, just an issue with Bill Shorten not disclosing that he was
Well,
at
I
that
think
wedding?
that disclosing that you were at a wedding in the context of criticising another person for being at a lunch seems to me to be fair, reasonable, what the Australian people would expect you to do, and it seems to me at least as a matter of common sense to indicate a complete lack of credibility. If you want to score a political point over a lunch when you knew you were at a wedding.
So do we need a registry?
That's the Attorney-General, Christian Porter, speaking live in Perth, outlining, he was there to outline a new law to stop information about farmers and agricultural businesses being put online to incite unlawful activity. The law, he said, would be enacted if the coalition wins the election. And he also highlighted the animals rights group and website Aussie Farms, which lists the location and details of farms across the country. Christian Porter also defended there, as you were hearing latterly, the former Immigration Minister Peter Dutton and the lunch he had with a Chinese billionaire hoping to gain Australian citizenship, which was criticised by the opposition leader Bill Shorten by saying, Christian Porter was saying that Bill Shorten attended the wedding of the daughter of the same billionaire as a guest of honour. That is the latest from the Attorney-General in Perth.